So the next presentation is Commoditize Connected Mobility Services on AWS, and it is being presented by Thomas Kalfak, who is a CTO in WirelessCar, and Sushant Damnikar, who is from AWS, who is a senior solutions architect in AWS. Thomas and Sushant, the floor is yours. You could share your screen, Sushant.
Great. I hope I'm audible and I'm in the presentation mode, and I believe you see my screen. Thanks a lot, Mohan, for this introduction. Now we are stepping in from SDV to connected mobility space. So a quick reset here. I would like to welcome on behalf of AWS and WirelessCar to this part of the meetup where we will talk about commoditizing connected mobility services on AWS with me, Sushant, and we also have a Thomas with us, who is a CTO at WirelessCar. So in this session, what we are going to talk about is what exactly the meaning of commoditizing services in general, and what do you need to do for that. Then we will talk about what AWS and WirelessCar did to commoditize connected mobility services, what was our approach, and in this approach, how SaaSifying your application helps, and how AWS is helping customers to SaaSify their application. When I say SaaS, is software as a service on AWS. And then Thomas will take us through WirelessCar's journey and really a short history and their custom solutions and how they change from the custom solutions to multi-tenant solution, and from multi-tenant solutions, how they are scaling their operations using SaaS products. So he will really take us through this journey so that we can understand and close the loop how AWS and WirelessCar is working together, SaaSifying their applications, creating API-based products, and commoditizing connected mobility. So when we talk about services, I would like to first focus on what is a good service, how to build that, and if you want to commoditize it, what are the right steps that you should follow. So I'm looking at this big circle, and the innermost part of this circle is build the right thing. That means build the code which is doing the functionality that you want. That means it does what it needs to do. The second, and when you do that, the second thing that you should always take care of, build the thing right. What does that mean? Mean that is, if you have a good code, you should select the right services, the right infrastructure, the right architecture, so that your applications can scale. Now you have a code that works, you have the right architecture, but if you cannot operate the whole service in your production environment, then it's of no use. And that's why you need the best DevOps practices, the best automation around your infrastructure so that you can operate it in production. So if you want to scale your operations, then you need to build the right code, choose the right technology, and also have the automation so that you can do the DevOps. And if you do that, it is easier to innovate. It is easier to reduce the time to market because everything is automated. And the one important thing is cost optimizations. And cost optimization is not a one-time thing that you do and forget, but it's really a culture that people think about the cost when they start to develop anything. And that does not happen over just a period of month or a year. It takes time because it becomes a culture eventually. So you have to do cost optimizations over consistent amount of period of time so that it becomes a culture in your company. And then this gives you operational efficiency. And at the end of the day, if you do all these things right, you focus more on the services rather than everything else. If you can do that, then you are one step to commoditize your services. Now let's see how we work together, WirelessCar and AWS, to commoditize connected mobility services. So first thing that we focused on was productizing the services. So if you have a service and if you're using the same service, or if you are providing the same service to multiple OEMs, you have to do lots of integration effort, and you do the same thing again and again. And to avoid that, the first thing WirelessCar did is they out of these services they created the managed API product. So they moved away from the services to actually creating a product so that they don't need to do this iterative efforts. They are continuously building new products like smart EV services, and they changed their architecture from siloed environments to multi-tenant SaaS architecture. And this has helped them to provide the services at scale and also onboard any OEM in just a couple of weeks rather than months and years. Then the second most important thing is cost optimization. And our aim together is to bring down cost per car per vehicle per year to single digit dollar on AWS. So now we are talking about AWS cost, not the total cost. So if we can do that, and we have a way how to do that. First of all, we focused on governance and easy wins so that the whole operations runs in the most efficient way in AWS. The second thing that we focused on best practices and re-architecting wherever necessary. And last but not the least, the commercial aspect like enterprise discount programs from AWS. And all this together is helping us to reduce cost per car. But the real effect we are feeling now when we are onboarding new OEMs and new vehicles on WirelessCar platform. Together, we have a goal to reach 100 million vehicle. And to do that, we are partnering, we have go-to-market approaches together, and we are really building economies of scale and the flywheel so that we can bring down cost per car vehicle at such a level where connected mobility services will become commodities. Now I would like to focus a little bit on SaaS, software as a service, and really focus on why it's important. You can take an example that you have one service that you are providing to different OEMs. In this case, they are different customers. And every time if you go to the customer, you have to provide the new management system configuration, integration, and new deployments, etc. And that means you need a new DevOps team all the time or new development testing team all the time for each of the customers. And this really hampers your efficiency. You cannot scale, and you need more people linearly as the number of customers and cars are coming on your platform. With software as a service, that's what you see on the right-hand side here. That problem being solved if you adopt software as a service architecture. That means you have one unified environment, and all other parts which are non-differentiated, like tenant awareness, DevOps, provisioning, onboarding, identity, billing, etc., that's been automated around it. That does not mean that all the customers are using the same environment. There are a couple of ways you can differentiate your customers and provide a different architecture, which are also SaaS-based. So the most common model that we see is a siloed model, where each customer gets their own data storage as well as processing environment. That's one kind of a SaaS model. The second kind is a pool model where you have pooled resources that are being used. And then you have bridge where you may have either data storage, which is being shared between the tenants or the processing. But depending on your customer needs, you can choose how you want to build multi-tenant SaaS applications. And if you want, and we are helping our customers in different ways to build that. The first is by enabling them using our AWS SaaS Factory offering. And the second way is providing open source environment, which is available on GitHub, which you can take and make your own, that is AWS SaaS Boost environment. Now let's see how WirelessCar has gone from a service-based company to commoditize connected mobility using multi-tenant SaaS applications. Over to you, Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Sushant. As mentioned, I'm Thomas Kalfak at WirelessCar, and I will talk a little bit about our journey from custom solutions to SaaS products to the customers. But first, a brief overview of WirelessCar as a company. What we do, we connect cars. We're a technology partner that turn connected car data into insights and digital services. And we aim to make a difference for people and planet by unleashing the power of connected vehicles to enable safe, smart, and sustainable mobility. In our industry, there are a few different things that sets us apart from our competition. They're listed here in the slide. It's our global reach. We deliver connected car services in over 100 markets. We have an expertise in automotive, where we provide digital services for the automotive industry. And that brings speed in innovation and insights to our customers. We do this in collaboration with the customers and a large network of partners. And that we build on our over 20 years of experience within the automotive industry. And we have several long-lasting customers to who we offer services for millions of vehicles across the globe. We have offices on a global scale as well in North America, in Europe, and in China. So that's very brief overview of the company as such. So Sushant, next slide, please. We work within these different solution areas, and we offer innovation discovery, products, and professional services in all these different areas. And there are several challenges in our industry, of course, and WirelessCar is and have been very successful in delivering services. And now to increase the value we bring to our customers, there is a need to lower the cost of delivering connected car services. In other words, we need to scale from a few millions or from a few vehicles to millions of vehicles without multiplying the number of people and the cost in the same way as the number of vehicles multiplies. So what we aim to do is to commoditize some of those services that are needed and that are common to all car manufacturers and that are non-differentiating among all these manufacturers. Next slide, please, Sushant. So this shows the beginnings of WirelessCar, roughly then 20 years ago plus. Back then, we built custom solutions for each customer. We were building the right things, but maybe not so much the right way. We were building the same things a lot, and we built all these things in disparate data centers around the globe for different customers. And for that reason, they became very different things, although they were solving the same kind of problems. So this gives a challenge with very, very slow development pace and long time to market and low flexibility. Then as a company that is continuously improving and staying in the forefront of technology, we decided to lift and shift our workloads to AWS globally to come around the challenges. And with that, we could accomplish one standard baseline, technical baseline to build on when it comes to services. And additionally, we also gain the flexibility and speed of change that comes with the use of the cloud. Additionally, we also were able to use many of the AWS platform services to focus more on delivering the business value to our customers rather than managing our infrastructure. So this lift and shift were what allowed us to scale from thousands of connected cars to around 1 million of connected cars. We can go to the next slide. So that left us in a much better place. But even though all the solutions we had were in the cloud and had the same technical baseline, we still had completely different custom solutions that didn't really scale when it comes to the economic side of things. So in order to provide more value to our customers, we need to reap the benefits of the economy of scale. So we needed to work on how to build the thing right and avoid large amount of duplication that we were doing. So what we did was to identify and extract common services from all those custom solutions that we were building. And then we created multi-tenant versions of those common services. Those were then identified as the commodity services that all OEMs need. After breaking them out from the solutions, we could designate service teams to manage those services for multiple customers, which means that the custom teams can work on other differentiating services instead. So basically split teams in custom teams and product teams. So additionally, then when extracting these multi-tenant services, we also made sure to leverage the relevant AWS platform services again wherever possible, which allows us again to focus more on the business value, on the added value. So this, of course, enabled us to reuse more and gain faster time to market and lower the cost of the delivery in total because of some of the reuse. We can also improve the quality and security due to the dedicated service team who can work continuously with the maintenance. And then, of course, the partnership with AWS helped us to do lots of cost optimizations of the workloads in order to drive down the cost per car even more. So this shift has allowed us to scale from about 1 million to now over 10 million cars. Yeah, we can continue to the next. So this is, if I pause the journey a little bit, this is an illustration of a typical architecture for our multi-tenant services. So they're all microservices based. And for us, if you remember the silo pool patterns that Sushant showed, the silo pattern is usually what's the best fit for us because of the sensitive customer data and requirements for no interference between customers. So if you look at the picture, in our context, we most of the times have a vehicle in the one end of the flow of data, and in the other end there is another M2M system, usually. And our microservices then they are very isolated. They have each microservice has one purpose, which limits the blast radius then, for example. It also allows us to support growth over time. We can build new services for new brands, with new apps and new car models with one set of common APIs. In terms of AWS services, you notice that we use a lot of them, as shown in the picture. If I should mention one, IoT Core is what helps us having millions of connected vehicles simultaneously without having to worry too much about the scaling on the messaging side. We can move on, yes. So what we're working on now is, since we are building the things right mostly, what's missing now is to operate this thing right. With the multi-tenant services, we've been able to improve in many areas, but there are still some challenges left in order to allow to scale to 100 million vehicles, which is the target right now. There's lots of manual processes that prohibit onboarding of new customers or tenants. To support our customers, the car manufacturers, to become software development organizations, we want to enable third-party developers to consume our services without adding manual labor on our side. And to help with this, we are adding self-service capabilities around the already existing multi-tenant services by implementing a control plane, basically. So adding the control plane with tenant management, billing, metrics, and self-service onboarding. This is what will enable the full commoditization of our services for automotive. The different software development teams at our customer sites, the different OEMs, they will be able to launch and run their own instances of our services with self-service APIs. We focus a lot on the developer experience when we do this work. It must be a delightful experience to work with the product. And then we get support from AWS a lot in this journey. For example, the AWS SaaS Factory resources have been extremely helpful. There's a lot of things that we can learn from AWS in this journey. But all in all, this whole change, it generates a flywheel effect where the increased consumption will lower the cost per vehicle even more, which will in the end lower the cost for our customers. And then as in addition, our customers, the automakers, as well as partners, they can build value-added services a lot faster on top of our SaaS compared to asking WirelessCar to do it for them. And of course, we can also build the value add on top of our own services. In all, this gives a much greater speed of innovation, both internally at WirelessCar and externally at the customers. And the time to market will be even shorter for new innovative services. And this is how we enable our automotive customers to accelerate the service creation and turn vehicle data into business value. And that was it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Sushant. Thanks for this presentation. I think it's a great way to satisfy this platform and also capture all the best practices and do it once rather than repeating it for every customer, every implementation. So I will request everyone, like if you have any questions, please unmute and ask the question. Don't have to wait to put it in the chat. We have 5 minutes for the questions. And while you are putting your questions, I had a question for both of you, Thomas and Sushant. I think a connected vehicle is a critical application, considering now that it is going to impact millions and millions of vehicles. How do you think redundancy will be handled in case there is a service event? How do you limit the scope of impact and all of that? How did you go about doing that?
Okay, I can take a stab. I mean, first of all, at WirelessCar, we adhere to our architecture principles, where one of them is service isolation. So each product that we have is built from a set of microservices that each one ensure that we limit the blast radius in case something goes wrong. So then, but in addition, when building complete solutions with our products, you use multiple products and all of them are isolated. So if something goes wrong in one of them, it doesn't affect the other ones. And then lastly, then of course the SaaS models that was shown in the presentation, we use the correct one depending on the use case. So for example, if for sensitive services, we use the silo model, because then if there's a problem with one customer, it doesn't affect the other ones.
And to add on,
Thank you.
from AWS side, we continuously do the well-architected reviews to find out if there is any room for improvement for multi-AZ setup. First of all, that's the minimum that our customers are following. But if there are any services which are time sensitive and critical, we can also support our customers to do multi-region deployment for resiliency. But we are always careful that that adds extra cost, extra effort, and then depending on customers' ambition as well as efforts and the budget, we try to decide what kind of resiliency is required for which of these services, and then also help them to deploy multi region services if required for the resiliency.
Thank you, Sushant.